Hello, everyone, and welcome back to techdaily.ai. I'm David, and I am absolutely pumped for today's session. And joining me to unravel some of the complexities of the tech universe is the brilliant Sophia.
Hello. It's great to be here. And honestly, while, mysteries of the tech universe sounds very dramatic.
Hey, I bring the hype. It's my job.
Well, we're tackling something today that it's just absolutely critical. It's that invisible framework that, holds product teams together.
All right, but before we get into nuts and bolts, and trust me, there are a lot of nuts and bolts, I just have a quick message for all of you listening. You can sponsor this podcast for just $25. Your message will be featured across major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and more. If you're interested, visit techdaily.ai to get started today.
That is a steal, honestly.
Okay, so let's pivot. Today we're talking about something that sounds, on the surface, like the most boring paperwork imaginable. We're talking about design system documentation.
I knew you were going to call it paperwork.
Well, isn't it? I mean, be honest. When most people think of documentation, they think of dusty binders or, I guess, dusty Google Drive folders now.
Right.
That no one ever reads until something catches on fire. It feels like a chore. But I have a feeling you're going to tell me I'm completely wrong.
You are very wrong. Think of it less like paperwork and more like a translation layer.
A translation layer.
Yeah, it's the Rosetta Stone that keeps your designers and your developers from, well, absolutely killing each other.
Okay, that definitely raises the stakes.
It really does. Because think about what happens when that translation layer fails. Without clear docs, teams they drift apart. You get errors multiplying in the code. The design doesn't match the final product. And what about onboarding new hires?
Oh, man, yeah. Trying to figure out how a company builds things without a manual.
Exactly. It takes forever. There's no single source of truth, so you're just tapping people on the shoulder asking questions all day.
So it's basically that backbone of the entire operation.
Precisely. And today, our mission is to unpack the 7 best practices that turn that messy library of random files into a well-oiled machine. We're going to look at how to master this.
Love it. So let's get into it. If this is so critical, why is it usually such a disaster? Where do teams go wrong first? Is it just, being lazy and not writing things down?
Surprisingly, no. It usually starts way before anyone even writes a single word.
Oh.
It starts with a lack of clear goals. You have to know who you are writing for.
Okay, but that sounds like, basic writing advice. Know your audience.
It is, but in a design system, your audience is split. It's kind of like the Tower of Babel. You have designers on one side and developers on the other, and they need completely different things to do their jobs.
Can you give me a specific example of that disconnect?
Sure. So a designer, they're looking at your documentation for visual guidelines. They need to know, when is it appropriate to use this button style? How much padding does it need?
Yeah, the visual language.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Exactly. But a developer, if you give them just hex codes and padding rules, they're going to be frustrated. They need the technical specs.
The code snippets.
The code snippets, the props, the parameters. If you write the documentation just for one group, the other group is they're going to ignore it.
It makes perfect sense. It's like a car manual. The driver needs to know how to turn on the headlights, but the mechanic needs to know the torque settings for the engine bolts.
That is the perfect analogy, and getting it right is so powerful. Take Razorpay, for instance.
Oh, the big fintech company. What did they do differently?
Well, they didn't just guess what people needed. They treated their documentation like a product itself. They actually ran focus groups. They hosted office hours.
Wait, they held office hours for their documentation? That sounds intense.
It was. But it was so necessary. They sat down with designers and devs and just asked, what is confusing you? What are you searching for and not finding? And that tailored approach let them bridge the gap between different skill levels.
So it turns the docs from a static lecture into a real conversation. But how do you know if it's working? Is there a metric for better documentation? Or is it just a vibe?
Oh, there are absolutely metrics. You can track usage data, see if people are even opening the pages, but you can also run user surveys. Just ask the team, did this help you?
I guess you could look at the search logs, too.
Exactly. If your logs show people typing in primary button and clicking nothing or bouncing immediately, you know your docs for buttons are failing.
That's fascinating. So it's not write it and forget it. It's an active loop. You have to treat it like living software.
Precisely.
Okay, so we know who we're writing for, but let's talk about the mess. I have seen shared drives that look like the Wild West. File names like Final V2 Real.
Oh, I've seen those.
How do you fix that chaos?
The solution is what we call consistent structure. It is all about predictability.
Predictability. Doesn't sound very sexy.
In the world of systems, believe me, predictability is the sexiest thing there is. It means efficiency.
Okay, sell me on it.
If I'm a developer and I jump from a button component to a drop-down component, the documentation should look and feel exactly the same. I shouldn't have to relearn how to read your docs for every new page.
So the code snippet should always be in the same spot.
Always. Eventbrite is a great example here. They organize their documentation by meaning rather than just function.
What does that mean, by meaning?
It means they group things based on intent. So instead of a giant alphabetical list of components, they have sections like navigation or data entry.
Ah, okay.
So whether you're a designer or a dev, you know exactly where to find design principles versus implementation details. It's standardized.
So it's a shared map, no jargon that only one side gets.
Right, and you see other big players doing this. Pinterest uses standardized GRA templates so every update follows the same format.
That's smart, keeps the inputs clean so the output is clean.
And eBay found that just by adopting a consistent structure, they massively boosted collaboration because people stopped asking repetitive questions on Slack.
Like, where's the link to the icon set for the 10th time?
Exactly that. Eliminating that friction is the whole goal.
Okay, let's throw down a bit. We've got our structure. Now let's look at a single component, let's say. A button, a humble blue button. What actually needs to be documented? Because I feel like it's a blue button, click it, isn't enough.
It is definitely not enough. Jerry Reed, the former NewSkit design lead, she always said, documenting the usage and guidelines is crucial. It's not enough to just show the button.
So what's on the checklist? If I'm building the perfect button doc, what do I need?
First, the technicals, the anatomy. For a developer, this means listing the props.
Okay, plus props. For the non-coders listening, give us the explain like I'm 5.
Right, good call. Props is short for properties. Think of them as the settings you can tweak.
Like color, size?
Exactly. Required parameters versus optional ones, default values, and event handling, what happens on a click, a double click, a hover.
Okay, so that's the under-the-hood stuff, the mechanics manual.
Right. Then you have the visual and behavioral side. This is all about state management.
Like which state the button lives in. California.
No. State means the condition the component is in. What happens when you hover over it? What does it look like when it's disabled? When it's in a loading state?
Oh, that is huge. I've definitely clicked buttons that gave no feedback, and I thought the UI was just frozen.
Exactly. But beyond just the what, you need the why. This is where usage guidelines come in.
The rules of the road.
Yes. Take material design, Google's system. They are very specific about their floating action button, that little round button in the corner of your phone apps.
Yeah, the plus sign or the compose icon.
Right? Their documentation explicitly says you can't just slap that anywhere. It has to be the primary action on the screen. If you use it for something secondary, you are breaking the system.
So documentation is a guardrail against bad design.
It tries to be. And finally, and this is non-negotiable, you need accessibility documentation.
Yes, this gets overlooked way too often.
It does, but it's not optional anymore. Your docs need to explain how that button behaves with a screen reader. Can you navigate to it with just a keyboard? Is the touch target size big enough for a thumb?
I love that. It's ensuring the product works for everyone, right from the blueprint stage.
Exactly. If you don't tell a developer how to make a button accessible in the docs, they probably won't do it. You have to bake it into the recipe.
Now, you mentioned interactive demos earlier. I saw this stat from Trust Radius that kind of blew my mind. It said interactive demos influence buyer decisions by 88%. And even internally, they drive adoption up by 90%.
It's a massive shift. We are moving beyond static.
Right, because usually documentation is just walls of text and maybe a screenshot.
And screenshots are lies.
Whoa, strong words. Screenshots are lies. Explain yourself.
Well, they're frozen in time. A screenshot tells you what a component looked like 6 months ago. It doesn't tell you how it feels. It doesn't show the animation, the hover effect, how it responds to different screen sizes.
So show, don't just tell.
Exactly. Companies like DigitalOcean do this really well with step-by-step guides. But IBM and Stana goes even further. They use practical scenarios so you see components in a real-world context.
That helps so much with context. I've seen tools like Lattice and Maxio doing cool things too.
Yes. They use interactive tooltips right inside the demo. So as you're playing with the component, a little tooltip pops up explaining what's happening.
That's so meta. Documentation inside the documentation.
It works, though. It helps people understand the feel of the interaction. It closes that loop between design and development.
But here's where I get anxious. Design systems are living things. They change constantly. How do you stop the documentation from becoming obsolete instantly?
This is the hardest part, managing change.
The dreaded version 2.0,
Or version 2.1.4, this is where semantic versioning comes in.
semantic versioning. That sounds like a college linguistics course.
It's actually pretty simple. Major.minor.patch.
Break that down for us.
Okay, so the first number is major. If you make a change that breaks everything, like renaming a core component, that's a major change. Version 1.0 becomes 2.0.
Okay, so big number change equals danger, pay attention.
Exactly. The second number, minor, is for when you add a new feature that doesn't break anything. And the last one, patch, is for tiny bug fixes.
So it's a language. It signals to a developer, hey, this update is safe, or hey, this is going to ruin your afternoon.
Exactly. And you can't just rely on humans to do this. You need automation.
Robots to the rescue.
eBay, again, is a leader here. They use a custom linter.
A linter, like for lint in your pocket.
Sort of. It's an automated tool that scans code to pick off the lint, the errors. They use it to catch errors and identify outdated docs automatically. So if a component changes, the system can flag the documentation and say, hey, this page is now a lie, fix it.
That is brilliant. It's like a spell checker for truth.
And Razorpay supports this with detailed change logs and clear migration paths. They don't just say, good luck, they give you a guide.
So no one is left guessing. That seems to be the theme here.
100%. If people have to guess, the system has failed.
But who is doing all this? We're talking about writing, versioning, creating demos. Is this one poor intern in the basement?
Please no, that is a recipe for disaster. This has to be a team effort. It has to be cross-functional.
Yeah, who's on the squad?
You need designers for the visual guidelines, you need developers for the tech specs, but you also need content writers.
Ah, the unsung heroes.
Seriously, to keep the terminology consistent. And don't forget product managers for the business insights. Why did we even build this component?
That sounds like a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
It can be. That's why you need a champion.
Like a gladiator.
Less violent, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, a documentation champion. Someone to oversee updates and train the team.
A project manager just for the docs.
Yes. And you need to keep those feedback loops open. Use tools like Notion or Confluence where people can leave comments. Documentation shouldn't be a lecture. It should be a conversation.
That makes it feel like a community garden instead of a private lawn. Everyone tends to it.
I love that analogy. If everyone feels ownership, the weeds don't grow.
So let's bring this all together. It feels like a lot of work.
It is work. But let's go back to Lucas Opperman from GitHub. He said, designers and developers speak a little bit of a different language.
And documentation is the translator.
It is. And the payoff is real. We're talking fewer support tickets, faster onboarding. Imagine a new hire being productive in week 1 instead of month 3, and ultimately you get more consistent products.
Which is what the user actually sees. They feel the consistency.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, what's the one big thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, looking at where AI and tools are going, we are moving toward a world where documentation might eventually write itself, or maybe it'll just live inside the design tools, and we won't have separate websites for it at all.
That would be wild. Just asking the code to explain itself.
But, and this is the key, until AI takes over completely, the teams that treat documentation as a product, not a chore, not paperwork, but a product with users and goals, those are the teams that will ship faster and better.
If you respect the docs, you respect the product.
Precisely.
Well, there you have it, folks. The blueprint for mastering the translation layer of your tech stack. Thank you so much for guiding us through the library today.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for plugging in to techdaily.ai. Go forth, organize your files, and we'll catch you on the next one.